So hello everyone and welcome to our next session of our Digital V-Days. So today we are talking about the topic Introduction to our REDEXPERT, an easy component selection and performance simulation. Niall will present you this presentation and later on also answer your questions. So regarding your questions, you can all the time send us your questions within the chat, and then after the presentation we will directly hop into this. And if we can't answer all your questions today, we will answer them later on via email. You will also get the link to the download link to the presentation files already in this session at the end, and we will also share the next days the recording, so you have the possibility to have a look at all the information once again. And yeah, so now I'm happy to introduce or give it over to Niall, and I wish you an exciting webinar.
Hello and welcome. My name is Niall and I'm happy to give this introduction to Würth Elektronik's REDEXPERT. So, what can you expect in this session? So, REDEXPERT has a lot of products and a lot of components. I cannot show everything in this short session. However, I will show you some of the commonalities between the product modules. So I will show you some of the features that will help you use REDEXPERT very easily. So first, there are a few slides on the background of REDEXPERT, and then I will quickly go into a demo, and you can also do this with me in your own computer. There will also be links to specific topics in this video. So, what exactly is REDEXPERT? REDEXPERT started in 2015 as a component selector, so to quickly filter down for an engineer to the desired components. It very quickly added simulation. So how does a component perform under the application-specific parameters? And then more recently, we also moved into real design. So given the application parameters, and then you get a design back, a circuit design. It is a completely online platform. You can access this at redexpert.weonline.com. So you don't need any IT for installation. It is up 24/7, and you will always have the latest data updates. We do the data updates daily to give you the latest information. At the moment, we have 41 product families, and as Würth Elektronik's portfolio is growing, so is REDEXPERT's portfolio. At the moment, REDEXPERT has 18 design tools, and this is also growing. But what is REDEXPERT exactly? It is a technical platform for engineers. It's not a marketing tool. The goal is to make the engineer's life easier. We do this by giving more and more technical information about our products. You can also call it a datasheet version 2. Instead of comparing datasheets, you can compare all the parameters of the articles online at the tip of your fingers. REDEXPERT contains not only idealistic models, no, it contains measurements that we took in our Würth Elektronik lab. So we measure our own components, and this gets translated into models into our software to give the engineer a more realistic performance of the part. So the tool is completely focused on designing to make the process from designing to prototype as quickly as possible. You can go from your lab from your computer to the desk in seconds. So, do I need to register for this awesome tool? No. You don't need to register. The data is freely available and free samples can be requested. So all you have to do is check this terms of use, which is normal for all applications, and again you can continue without logging in. At the same time, you get some things for free. You get some things when you register for free. So there's no sign-up fee or anything. You can register for free with your email. And what you get is you can pin your favorites. You can see your recently visited. You can freely add and move chart sliders. You can download the charts. And you have extra tools to your availability. Also, you can see extra data. For example, in power inductors, you will see extra columns that will show you, for example, the delta ripple current and your losses and your temperature rise. Okay, but why do you need REDEXPERT exactly? Würth Elektronik has a lot of components. So, for example, in REDEXPERT, we have more than 2,700 power inductors, more than 3,500 aluminium electrolytic and aluminium polymer capacitors, and we have more than 2,500 PCB ferrites. And that is not counting the other 38 product families. REDEXPERT helps you filter down these products, these articles, in basically 3 steps. The first step is the technical info that I mentioned already. We give a lot of technical info, and the easy filtering really helps you reduce the amount of articles very fast to what you need. Secondly, the simulation and design tools. So, considering your application requirements, you can see how the parts perform. And on this performance, for example in charts, as I will show you, you can also filter down super easily and reduce the amount of parts that are suitable for you even more. Then lastly, in some tools, we actually recommend the parts. For example, of a combination of power inductors and capacitors, we filter down to 5 to 10 parts that are most suitable. And from these, you can choose what is best for you. Is it the best performance or the smallest footprint? These 3 steps help select the best part for you. And more. So you can always share the selection and the UI that you've made with other people. So for example, you have an idea of the best components. You can share that with a colleague or with your local Würth Elektronik representative. And you can have them do a double check if this is really the best component that you're looking for. Okay, given these introduction slides, let's go into a demo. When you type in redexpert.weonline.com, you will get to this landing page, which has different elements. Let's go to this page. Right. So you see here below is already the navigation. From here you can navigate to any part in REDEXPERT. We have separated it into design tools, which are more focused from the application point of view, like a filter designer or a DC-DC converter, or you can do it on product selection. For example, power inductors or optoelectronics like visible LEDs, and you can easily navigate here. The next panel is the favorites. So this is what you get when you've signed up. In the top right, you have the menu. This is available anywhere from REDEXPERT. If you open it up, you will see your recently used. This is also a benefit when you register. So you can see, you can quickly go back to the last part, the last modules that you visited. In this menu, we have a Learn More section with some videos that you can view to learn more about specific things, like using charts. Here we have the same selection as the navigation as the landing page. For example, product selection, EMC components, and then you can click on the information to see what the module is about. Also, we have a pin icon here to add them to the favorites. You can do this from here, or you can do it from the module itself. So if I just pin this and I close it again, I will see I have my favorite, my ferrite as a favorite on my landing page. Now, lastly, for this page, you can navigate by order code. If you already know the order code, you can type it in here, and then it will show you a list or the exact order code, and you can navigate from here to the exact module and see the parameters. For example, if you already use a part and you want to see if it's suitable to use it again for another project. So, getting into the details, the component selector. We have some basic functionality that is generic for all component selector modules. So you can filter, you can organize columns, you can do sorting on the columns, you can select parts, you can add the parts to basket and order free samples, you can share your selection, and you can use the tray bar. So let's get into this. For example, if I navigate from here to signal communications and RJ45 LAN transformers, this will open up the module LAN transformers, and you can see the layout of the component selector. So in the top, we have the table, and in the bottom, we have panels, which can show, in this case, images, but can also show charts. So from the top, it is very easy to start filtering. For example, I want 1 gigabit per second RJ45. I want without USB, so I select no. Then I want one with the tab up. This very quickly reduces the number of items that you're looking for. And you can even continue with this, like EMI filter or mount. What you can do is you can move these columns to suit your benefit, and it will even save this in your preference if you're registered. Also, you can, in the top right, select columns that you want to show or that you don't want to show by clicking them on or off. Now, if you've selected a part that one or more parts that you're interested in, you can select them here in the table, or you can drag them into the tray. From here, you can add them to the basket. Once added to the basket, you can either ask for free samples or copy to clipboard. With the copy to clipboard, you can save it to your project file, or you can send it to your local Würth Elektronik representative and they can send you samples as well. So this is the basic component selector functionality of REDEXPERT. Now we also have charts. In the charts, we have you can export, you can use a slider, you can compare and filter the parts based on the charts, and you can tidy up by removing parts that you're not so interested in. So let's navigate to another module. So from the top menu, you can navigate here to product selection, capacitors and resistors, and then we go to MLCCs. So in MLCCs, you see the same layout, except below we have charts instead of images. You can have images or charts or a combination of images and charts. This will help you select down your parts. In the panels, you have the tabs where you can show or hide the panels that you're interested in. So here we do the same for the selection. For example, say I'm interested in finding a 100 nanofarad part. I fill in for the capacitance 100 nanofarad. Then maybe I'm looking for a operating voltage of 12 volts. I take a little bit of margin and set the range from 16 to 40 volts. Continue. Okay, I've reduced the amount of items a lot, but I still have 17 items. What you can do is you can fill the tray. This will add we'll add 16 parts to your tray, and you can see the different charts here below for all the different parts. What is important for MLCCs is the DC bias voltage. You can see it differs a lot for the different parts. What you can do in REDEXPERT in all modules is that there's a slider on the left and you can pull it out. This way you can set the exact voltage to your operating conditions. So in this case, I want to know what the DC bias is at 12 volts. When you've set the slider, you get a custom column here in the table, and you can see what the delta capacitance is of at 12 volts. So in this case, you can see, for example, this part has minus 86% bias drop. This, of course, is not really very useful if you're looking for a part. The thing to do here is that you can set a minimum drop. So for example, I set a minus 5% drop. Now you can see what happened. It automatically filtered out all the parts that were below the minus 5%. You can still see them as dotted lines and grayed out here in the tray bar. To make it more easy, you can tidy up the tray bar and it will automatically remove all the parts from your selection. You can add more sliders to different charts if you want, like this one for the ESR, and you can compare the ESR. So this one is a little bit higher than the other one, so maybe I don't want this one. Okay, so the process is now the same. You can add them to your basket, and you can order free samples or copy to clipboard. If you want to share this exact layout and filtering, you can use the share button here in the top. All you have to do is click it. It will create a link, and you can copy this link and then send it by email or save it somewhere. So we also have embedded design tools. These design tools differ widely in their functionality because they're really specific for the product. So we have some DC-DC converters for power inductors. We have a lifetime calculator for electrolytic capacitors. And we have, for example, wireless connectivity. We have a range estimator and an energy consumption calculator. At the moment, for the time, I'm only going into the buck converter and show you the buck converter because this is the most popular tool for REDEXPERT. So again, we navigate with the menu, and then I can go to power inductors from my recently used. We recently added this rated current calculator application, which is really useful to see what current you can actually use based on your PCB traces. Here it shows that the specified rated current is really dependent on how the manufacturer measures it. But with this tool, you can get the exact one. But let's go back to the buck converter. Okay, so here you see the buck converter schematic, and you have an option to select a sync or non-sync. Let's keep it to non-sync, and then we're looking for a V-in of 12 volts. Maybe you want an output voltage of 3.3 and a current of 4.5 amperes. All you have to do is press update, and it will create automatically these filters in the top. If you go to the details button, it will show you more details on the simulation for this exact component. So the top part are the input parameters and a generic calculation for the inductor. So it calculated an optimal inductance of 3.04 microhenries. So it created a filter here for plus and minus 30% of this inductance value. And as you can see, it's not selecting the specified inductance, which is here, but it's selecting the inductance at 4.5 amps and 20 degrees. So you can see in the chart, the average, what was calculated is that the average inductor current is 4.5 amps. So in the chart, it puts the DC bias at 4.5 amps. And you can see, for example, in this part, this inductance is 2.81 microhenries compared to the 3.3 microhenries specified. In the left, it will show you the AC losses calculated with our proprietary model, and also the DC losses, the total losses, and the temperature rise. It also shows you the power loss over the output current. So you can see what the difference is between a high load and a low load. So what's interesting for power inductors is to get a very low loss. So here we have the AC losses, the DC losses, and the total losses. Now what you can do is sort on the lowest total losses. So here you can see that we have a part with 24.6 milliwatts losses. So if this is interesting for you, you can select this part and then add it to your basket again. So our DC-DC converters, as mentioned, uses a proprietary AC loss model. This is one of the best in the world, and it works that we characterize all the parts in our lab. And this characterization includes the complete part. So we take into account the material, the shape, an air gap or not, windings, and we simulate a square voltage and a triangular current as in a real DC-DC converter. And it also includes the DC offset. So this way we have a much more accurate model than when the core and the copper losses are calculated separately. So compared to the Steinmetz model, we have a much higher accuracy over the duty cycle range. Lastly, we also have some standalone design tools. So this is a new type of design tool, which is really focused, starting not with the product itself, but starting with the application. So these tools recommend cross-product families. So we recommend a combination for filter designer, a combination of inductor and capacitor, and for the power module and the different capacitors. So the EMI filter designer uses the component equivalent models, so all the parasitics, to calculate the best parts for you and recommends the 5 best parts. And the same with the Magic Power Module, we're using the DC bias from the capacitors to calculate which ones are suitable to use with this module. So let's go to the application again. If you go to the menu, you will see in Design Tools, we have here EMI Filter Designer and Magic Module Designer. So we can go from here to the Design tool. And here you have the input parameters, you have a recommended topology, and you have some advanced parameters. So I won't go into much detail of this application, but at the moment this is only for conductor differential noise, but in the future we will expand this module. What is important, however, is that you use the impedance, because the power transfer is really important here. So you can see this is quite a different tool. And if you go to next, then it will calculate based on your input parameters the most suitable components for this application. So now it recommended 120 microfarad capacitor, and this is not an ideal capacitor, but this is an actual component, and 1 microhenry inductor. And it already calculated, including the parasitics, what the insertion loss is. In this case, 40.2 dBs at the 200 kilohertz. And you can see that in the chart as well. If you now go to the summary, you get a summary with a bill of materials. And again, you can add this to your basket. You can also print this summary page and keep it in your project folder. Let's quickly go to the Magic Power Module Designer. So this is a very easy tool to select the most suitable design for your power module. So for example, I keep this 12 volts output voltage 5 volts, but I want maybe 5 amperes of output current. Okay, we have this module, which is suitable to your input parameters. Then I can go next, and it will calculate exactly which components you need around the module. So for example, it calculated the divider resistors, it calculated the input and output capacitor, and it set the soft start capacitor that you need. Here, this way you can really get up and running very quickly with creating your power module converter. And again, you can go to the summary, and this information you can print and keep in your project folder. And we even add design resources that you can download here. And the full bill of materials you can add to your sample basket. And as always, order free samples or copy to clipboard. Okay, so this was my demonstration as an introduction to REDEXPERT. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you take a lot of profit using REDEXPERT and reduce the time that you need for selecting the proper components. Thank you very much.